All right, thank you everyone for joining this presentation, and thank you to the Ohio Clinicians for Climate Action for having me. My name is Kristin Hall. I'm the Director of Sustainability in the City of Cleveland's Mayor's Office of Sustainability. I'm going to give you a little presentation on our office, our Sustainable Cleveland Initiative, and our Cleveland Climate Action Plan, which I think is the most relevant here and really one of the biggest drivers in a lot of the work that we do moving forward. So just briefly, a little background on our office. We were started in 2005 and became part of the mayor's office in 2009 with the launch of the Sustainable Cleveland Initiative. I'll give a little bit more info on that shortly. A lot of our goals of our office are to save the city money, reducing our environmental footprint, using sustainability as a tool for economic development. There is some money to be made if we are doing things sort of the right way. And improving equity, of course, is a big one for us, and we've really seen that elevating a lot over the last few years, especially with the launch of the Climate Action Plan. I'll discuss that in a little bit as well. And really, sometimes we kind of joke that we want to not have an Office of Sustainability one day, because this is just embedded into the work that we do, and it's just how we do things. We're doing things smarter and more sustainable. But I have here, we can't do it alone. What's really critical for us is the buy-in from our residents, from our businesses, from our nonprofit community. You know, if we as the city can be leaders in this, but if we don't have really everyone from the community working towards this same goal, we're not going to be as successful. We're really just spinning our wheels. So I mentioned in 2009, Mayor Jackson launched our Sustainable Cleveland Initiative. It was originally Sustainable Cleveland 2019 to align with the 50-year anniversary of the Cuyahoga River Fire, the last Cuyahoga River Fire. Really, for us, we wanted to use that as an opportunity over those 10 years from 2009 to 2019 to be very aggressive and, you know, work together to build a thriving green city on a blue lake. And while we have been very successful, we know we still have some ways to go. So as we move beyond 2019 and look ahead, we're still Sustainable Cleveland. We're still working towards that same goal, but we're finding different ways to achieve that and sort of frame it. And I'll get into some of that as well. One of the big things that really I think has highlighted our Sustainable Cleveland Initiative over the years is our annual summits. We bring normally, under normal conditions, 500 plus folks from the community together to really collectively design and envision what a sustainable Cleveland looks like and what they want to see in their community. This year's summit was a virtual summit, and you can visit sustainablecleveland.org for all of the information on what happened at that event. Also wanted to highlight our Cleveland Climate Action Plan. So originally we had launched our first Climate Action Plan in 2013, and we've now found ourselves on a 5-year cycle of updating it because there is a lot of new resources and information out there regarding sort of how we measure our greenhouse gas emissions, but also, you know, I think it's always an opportunity to revisit those actions and see, you know, are they working for our community? What was especially unique about this 2018 Climate Action Plan was the emphasis on equity. Really throughout the whole process, from development to designing and final, you know, now implementation, we really tried to emphasize equity and making sure that as much of the plan supported that, and especially racial equity. We don't want to, you know, ignore that either. So one of the things that I'd like to point out here is our 90+ member Climate Action Advisory Committee that helped inform the plan. So you can see here some of the organizations that were represented. We do have a number that are in healthcare, and what's really unique for me, and I do like to share this, especially when I'm giving national presentations, is all of the members of our Climate Action Advisory Committee were asked to participate in racial equity training at the onset of this process. So all 90 folks at a minimum went through a half-day training through the Racial Equity Institute, and many went on to take a follow-up 2-day training through the same organization. A lot of that was geared around all of us having a shared awareness. I've got Cleveland Neighborhood Progress kind of here in the middle. We should probably make them a little bit bigger. They were a a really key partner in executing the climate action plan and really supported that shared awareness. So I think the idea being, you know, if everyone has gone through this training and can speak the same language to a certain extent and really understand why some of these systemic issues are being experienced in our country, we can better work to address them and make sure that our plan actually solves the problems that we need them to. Another big piece of our climate action plan development were these neighborhood workshops. We had 12 different workshops throughout the development of the plan in Cleveland neighborhoods. We were very intentional about making those on evenings and weekends so that as many participants could join us, as well as including things like childcare and offering food so that it didn't feel as burdensome to join us and provide your feedback. Really, this was such a critical part for the development of our plan because we really got to hear from the community what they wanted to see, what's important to them. I can tell you at every single workshop that I attended, which was a little bit more than half, we heard every time the words clean, safe, healthy. Those are priorities for our community. And as we got into updating the plan, you know, we really did our best to try to reflect that. So if you are diving in, learning more about the climate action plan, you're going to find these 4 appendices as well. They're different cross-cutting priorities. So you can see our general focus areas on the right here. I like to point out, for example, clean energy. Just as a way that we used what we heard from our residents to be reflected in the final plan. The original title for this focus area was Advanced and Renewable Energy, and coming out of those workshops, hearing clean over and over again, we really wanted to just keep it simple, make the language of this plan really accessible to all residents. So we just changed it to clean energy, kept it very simple. And I think it allowed us to broaden some of the items that we sort of categorized under clean energy. Another big one to point out here is our racial equity toolkit. So this is a series of questions that we would apply to all 107 actions of our plan. We did have an equity sort of breakout subcommittee that looked through every single action to understand, you know, one, would this in any way potentially burden or in some way cause harm to a certain population? Does the language itself read clearly? Can anyone understand sort of what it's getting at? And then we've also been using that to help sort of rank the level of equity that each action sort of helps promote and helps us prioritize what work needs to be happening. Additionally, I'll just briefly point out the other appendices. We did do a climate and social vulnerability assessment. That's really important for us to understand who are the neighborhoods that are going to be most impacted by climate change. So it may be, of course, the actual weather conditions themselves, heavy rain events, urban heat island, heavy heat days, but there's a lot of socioeconomic factors that only exacerbate those impacts when you are feeling them as a resident. So that's a really awesome read if you're interested. And we used the Climate Smart Cities tool to help us really understand you know, what those impacts are at even a census tract level, which is super helpful. Of course, we want climate action to support economic development, not hurt it. So we do have green jobs and workforce development analysis. And of course, you know, understanding what some of our large players here in the region, how they are helping to contribute to this as well. So for some of our publicly traded companies, we did do a corporate ESG, environmental, social, and governance analysis. Some of you may be aware of this, but I just wanted to share briefly some of the effects that we are expecting to see here in Cleveland as a result of climate change. If you are lifelong Clevelanders, some of this is probably not very new to you. We've been used to funky weather here for a while, but it's going to be, I think the phrase I have heard before is warmer, wetter, and weirder. So it's definitely the temperatures are going to increase, which is going to lead to a lot more increased heat days and longer increased heat days. That has really big impacts if, say, you're a senior citizen that doesn't have air conditioning. So we work very closely with folks like our emergency management team and public works department to ensure that we have cooling centers set up during those high heat days so that folks can get some relief during that time. The wetter side, you know, we're no strangers to precipitation here, but with increased heat, we may see more forms of rain as opposed to snow. And, you know, we have to deal with that weather. Fortunately, we have two really awesome water utilities here, Cleveland Water and the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, that are really working to get ahead of that, but it is a big, big undertaking and it costs a lot of money. So trying to find other ways to better manage some of that water a little bit more naturally. And I'll talk about that in some of my examples. Just highlighting a couple actions from within the plan around clean water and green space, but a lot of these really are intended to showcase sort of the connection between sustainability, climate action, and health. So you can read some of these here, and I'm going to highlight just a couple quick projects. One is green infrastructure. So like I mentioned, we're going to be having a lot more wet weather. We need to find ways, you know, we can put all of that stuff into some big cement pipes, but over time that still takes a lot to manage. If we can find other ways like green infrastructure to more naturally deal with some of that water, especially when we have those heavy rain events, while also greening our communities and supporting, you know, various plant life, including trees, it's really a win-win. So these are some photos from our Slavic Village neighborhood, and you know, that kind of lends itself to our Cleveland Tree Plan. We are just recently updated the Cleveland Tree Plan. It was originally launched in 2015, and Cleveland was once known as the Forest City. So we want to get ourselves back to that. A lot of factors have led to our declining tree canopy. So we've been very intentional about our planting efforts. Last year, Mayor Jackson committed $1 million a year over the next 10 years to tree planting and maintenance efforts. So we're working now to really do a comprehensive inventory of our tree stock so that we know where to plant the right trees in the right place. If you are from Cleveland at all, you may see a 2-foot wide tree lawn that has a 3-foot wide tree that has grown in it. We're trying to avoid that and make sure that all the trees that we are planting now are getting established, not just planted. So that means they are living for at least 2 years and ultimately are being maintained so that they grow healthy and do not become problems in the future. Want to also highlight our work around the U.S. Water Alliance's Water Equity Task Force. We joined a cohort of 6 other cities back in 2017, I believe, to look at how we can improve water equity within our communities. I was part of this team. It was such a great experience for me to interact with so many other cities and hear their perspectives and know that we are not alone here in Cleveland with some of the water challenges that we face, not only from, you know, like I mentioned, some of the climate action side, but really some of the basics of affordability and access. So again, having those 2 water utilities here locally, they are both on our, it was Water Equity Task Force. It is now Greater Cleveland Water Equity Partners. And they, you know, are doing a lot to make sure that we are getting set up with that. One of the deliverables that came out of this project was our water equity roadmap, an equitable water future. And within it, it kind of highlights the different pillars of water equity. Again, ensuring that access to clean, safe, affordable water, ensuring that community benefits from it. There's a lot that we can see from the community by supporting clean water. And finally, really helping our community to understand what climate change is going to look like here and appreciate what water quality means in the face of that. And with that, I want to just thank you for your time. We've got our Sustainable Cleveland website here. My email is here if you have any questions. And I look forward to being a part of the Q&A. Thank you.